13th of 2024? August 27th of 2024. I'm looking at the wrong agenda. And this is the Stoughton City Council meeting. Hopefully I'm looking at the right agenda, just the wrong date. And the first thing is the roll call, and Nicole Marie's going to do the roll call tonight.
Alder Abel.
Here.
Alder Butler.
Here.
Alder Caravello.
Here.
Alder Hirsch.
Here.
Alder Jensen.
Here.
Alder Lagaki's absent and excused. Alder Majewski.
Here.
Alder Payton.
Here.
Alder Reeves.
Here.
Alder Sherlucky. Absent. Alder Schumacher.
Here.
Alder Wozniak-Scallon. Mayor, we have quorum.
All right, thank you very much. And we are certified in compliance with open meeting laws. And we do have a public comment period. We don't have anyone really signed up to speak, but there are people here for the art walk. If they want to come up and tell us a little bit about it, you're welcome to do that.
Hi, I'm Ingrid McMasters, 168 West Main Street, SDMA Art Council and Spry Whimsy Fiber Arts. We are organizing the art walk as we have been doing for about 5 years now. This year we're changing it up a little bit. It will, we hope, with your approval, have some musicians. So right now it will be September 28th as usual from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. In the past, it's only been in interior locations. This year, we have 16 artists in 15 locations, and we would like to have 11 musicians, which previously we only had 2. 5 would be indoor, and 3 are outdoor, given your approval. And Alfred Scarpin is organizing the musicians this year. So we're here just to answer any questions if you have any regarding the musicians.
All right, thank you. Do you have a question, Alderperson Hirsch?
Yeah, where will the musicians be located?
So they are in the packet that is in part of tonight's information. So did they happen to get that? Okay.
Well, as Ingrid's passing that out, I can just say it's the indoor locations are Grand Inspired, Cheezers, Mershon's, and Roxy's Restaurant. And the outdoor locations, one is that little park by Inkworks. The second one is outside Stoughton Village Players. And the third one is outside Gemini Gates. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed one, thank you, I missed one of the indoor locations. In the morning, there's going to be some Hardanger fiddle players in Liv Risa.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions about Art Walk? No? Go ahead.
I just wondered if it went to, I didn't go to public safety. I just want to make sure that we're okay with the locations and public access as far as right through streets and that sort of thing. But I'm not sure if I saw if it went to public safety. Do you recall
So,
Alder Jensen or anyone on that?
in your packet is something that looks something like this, hopefully, in your packet. So one of the outdoor locations is the Inkworks lot, which will be completely on private land. The second location in front of Gemini, there is an overhang in front of their building. We've got basically 2 gentlemen with guitars or string instruments, and they would be up against the building, so they would be out of the sidewalk. There'd be plenty of space for people. I know we need 4 feet clear, that we've got well more than 4 foot clear. Also in front of Stoughton Village Players, the building is set back from the sidewalk a little bit, and there will be 1 person with either a microphone or a guitar right in front of the building. So again, they will be well off of the sidewalk. So people can scoot by there without any problem. They're not in the sidewalk crowd. We don't anticipate crowds gathering. That's not the point of these people playing music. They're supposed to be ambiance. They're supposed to give that festival livety to the area, and, you know, if people want to sit and listen to music, we've got the interior locations and we have the Inkworks lot.
Thank you.
To answer your question, Lisa, he was gonna answer your question.
So this did not come to committee because it was late in the process. So we looked at, the chief and Candy and I looked at the application. There was no difference from the last application from last year, with the exception of this music. There was nothing that was in violation or would be concerned for public safety, for the police, or for Candy's ability to authorize a permit. So we just felt it was best to just go right straight to the consent agenda.
So the chief was okay with the music plan? I mean, it sounds like it's
Yeah,
not gonna
no
be an
problem,
issue.
because it doesn't violate our ordinances
Okay.
at all.
Thank you.
And I'll just add that the long-term plan is we're in the process of revamping our special event permit process. So we actually started to work on that before the pandemic, and we have 3 out of the 4 people that are working on it were not here during the pandemic. So we're kind of rebooting. We're going to try to get everything on one application, put the links right on there to make it more user-friendly. And when we bring it, there may be a request for some of the events to give us authorization to approve them administratively. And we can talk about that at that time. For sure, the non-alcoholic ones, we would like to do that. The ones involve alcohol, I guess that'll be maybe a recommendation from Public Works. If it's a reoccurring event, we might want to handle that differently. These are all the conversations we're having. Obviously, you guys will be, you know, it'll be your decision to ultimately make, but that's kind of where we're at in the process. And what we're trying to do is, we've had an extreme large number of events this summer, which is a great thing. But we're going to try to be in a better position to handle them next year. Any other questions? Thank you for all your work to do the event.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is communications and presentations. Are there any communications from alders? Hearing none. Communications presentation, Alderperson Schumacher.
All right, for our historical piece today, we've got one that was prepared by the Stoughton Historical Society. So I'm just going to read through this. It was in the packet. So according to Ferd Holm in his book, Oak Opening, the Story of Stoughton, on page 61, in November 1896, the first automobile ever seen on a Stoughton street was unloaded from a flat car at the depot, driven the length of Main Street and back to the depot. It was loaded onto the flat car again and was gone. It was a large electric automobile, an advertising stunt of Montgomery Ward Company. Then the notes that historic societies put in there of, you know, the futuristic, or how futuristic the cameo appearance of the electric car must have felt for Stoughton in 1896, whose world was filled with, in more ways than one, depended on horses and wagons. As they watched the shocking sight of that clean and quiet electric automobile cruising Main Street, it's very likely that they didn't think twice about the fact that they were probably standing in what all of those horses had left behind. That was normal. Could they have had any idea that Stoughton's much-loved and nationally famous wagons could soon be left behind? There's a saying that you shouldn't invest in businesses that are perfecting the buggy whip, meaning times change, so don't dwell on the past if you want to make money. Well, at the Historic Society, they like to dwell on the past because it helps to put the future in context. So on September 7th, there's a brand new event in Stoughton. That is the Retro on the River 2024. It'll be a family-friendly day focused on history and anchored by a vintage market. Kids and parents will be able to jump around and have fun together in a bouncy house called a disco dome with speakers and a playlist of 20th century dance tunes. And the bouncy house will be powered by the power share capability of a large, very futuristic electric vehicle, a Tesla Cybertruck. Just don't throw any things at the windows. The history of Stoughton helps us put this cameo appearance in context. So, September 7th, and no buggy whips. And thanks to the Historic Society for putting that together. So.
I don't know how you follow that. I guess we'll just go right into the consent agenda. There's a number of items in the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion by Jensen, is there a second? Who was it? Second? Wozniak Scanlon? All right. They're pointing at Christina. She gets the second. Anybody like anything acted on separately? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed. That motion carries. There's no old business. Thank you. New business, R138 of 2024. And this one came from the Finance Committee, Alderperson Schumacher.
Means you get to listen to me again. This is Resolution 138, 2024, a resolution for approving the subdivision improvement agreement, Phase 2 of Magnolia Springs. So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Butler. Alderperson Schumacher.
This is just moving into the Phase 2 for Magnolia Springs, simple as that.
Anything you want to add, Attorney Manthe?
So, as Alderperson Schumacher said, this is just allowing Phase 2 to proceed with Magnolia Springs. So it's almost identical to the Phase 1 agreement. Essentially, it just says that they're going to build the public improvements necessary and provide the city a letter of credit or bond that would secure their obligations to construct the public improvements and then dedicate them to the city.
Okay. And then in your packets, a map, so it would be kind of the southern portion of the development would be Phase 2. So they're moving right along. It seems like they're selling them as fast as they can build them. Alderperson Hirsch.
I have a question. I know with Magnolia Springs, with respect to parks, they had negotiated with the Park and Recs Committee not to do the original plan, but to do a modified plan. And I thought they were supposed to have that completed before Phase 2 was to take place. And we at Park and Recs just walked it last week, and it's not completed at all. And so we were wondering how that works, because they were supposed to have a paved trail up to Isham, and that there's nowhere near that. And the other trails were supposed to be constructed in lieu of this other big trail along the road. And so we modified based on that. They were supposed to do the improvements, that was the deal, and they're not done.
I can tell you, and I don't know if this is the correct answer, I know we're still holding a letter of credit. I don't know if that trail is part of that, but I can at least check into that. I don't know if you have any other insight on it off the top of your head.
Yeah, I don't know the answer off the top of my head, unfortunately. But typically, like, the letter of credit would be to secure that, right? So that if they don't perform, and I don't know what their punch list status is. I can talk with Planning Director Chris. I mean, we could bring this back at the next meeting just to clarify that, or
Yeah, I would be more comfortable with making sure that they've done everything they're supposed to do in Phase 1 before we give them permission for Phase 2. Not that I want to slow down the development, but I also don't want, this to be kind of forgotten either.
Yes, I can definitely look into that and get you an answer. So if you're not comfortable moving forward with tonight without knowing that, we can bring it back at the next meeting.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what you want to do, you can just make a motion to postpone.
I'll make a motion to postpone.
Is there a second?
I would second that motion. I don't know if there are any other context from the,
So there's a motion to postpone and there's a second. We can open it up for discussion. Is there anything else that you'd want us to check into other than the trail? I know there's some items on the punch list related to an area that is a trail, but I don't know if it's this specific area. There was something with the engineering of it and the slope, but I don't know if it's the same trail or not. And I know that for sure is on the punch list. I just don't know if it's the same one. President Reeves?
So this, I tagged along when the Parks Committee went on the tour, and that was a question. And it also came up in finance, because we questioned whether or not, you know, in future, this would be something that would even come to finance as opposed to planning and parks and how to coordinate that, because, you know, those are the things that, you know, would be helpful for parks and planning to interject, because we don't know what was part of that particular general development agreement. And same thing came up at the agenda meeting when we had that last Thursday, was whether or not we can approve this yet, because, you know, do we need to look at the full plan? So those were all questions we were asking, and it was kind of unclear, like, not only this one, but moving forward, you know, how do we make sure that, you know, planning, parks all have, you know, a look-see at it along with, you know, the attorney and city. So it probably raises a good point to just try to make sure, how do we cross our T's and make sure those sorts of things get done, so.
Yeah, and it's typically through the letter of credit release, which they've requested, and we have not released. I just don't know the specifics of the punch list, but we're more than happy to follow up on this, and we'll bring it back at the next meeting. If anything else that you think of, certainly let us know, and we'll investigate that as well. Any other questions or comments? Sure.
I would hope in the future, as these come up, that we have a checklist, and these are run through committees before this question comes to council, so that we don't have this blind blundering of decision-making, that we are clear and we know that exactly, we make sure that the developer has performed the tasks which are required of them before we release anything. I don't want to see anything slipping through the cracks, and then, you know, by then it's too late.
Sure.
So.
Understood.
Hopefully that you can direct staff to start developing a checklist for such matters, so that council can use it for decision-making.
Okay.
I got one on
Sure.
there. It was one that I did want this one to, or at least things in the future, it's not helping us with this one right now, but to run that one through Plan Commission instead, because that seems to be, you know, that's where we develop the developers' agreements and that. So all these other details that fit in or feed in from the rest of the committees, then Plan Commission would be able to see that, sign off on that, and then finance ultimately just as yep, we're square.
I also think we're lucky that we planned as the Parks Committee to go walk this trail, because if we hadn't walked it, we also wouldn't have seen the current status of their progress. So we're glad that we walked it, but if we had come to this meeting having not, we wouldn't have been as equipped to understand the situation relative to the agreement and what their obligations are still to us. Because there's a lot over there that still needs to be done, and it seems like it hasn't really, the part that Alder Hirsch had said that we negotiated and compromised with them on is not been touched, and I think for us, that's not acceptable before we proceed.
Okay, we'll check into that and we'll see what we actually agree to and what they're obligated to do, and then we'll bring that information back at the next meeting. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of postponement, say aye.
Aye.
And anybody opposed? That motion carries. All right, next item is the R-139 of 2024, adoption of a revenue collection and write-off policy. This one came from finance as well. Alderperson Schumacher.
All right, this is R-139 of 2024, resolution for adoption of a revenue collection and write-off policy. So moved.
Is there a second? Alderperson Schumacher.
In finance, we had looked at several pieces from, and a quite lengthy list from the municipal court based on fines and that were due, how we were going about collecting them, what we could do about them after a certain period of time, and we just didn't really have anything that directed us to, like, okay, we can investigate this up to a certain point and then we have to release it after that. So based on rules that the municipal court has and the state, we've cut that at 5 years that we can try and look at getting these fines paid in. So a policy was drafted around that. All I have for that.
All right, any questions or comments on this one? Alderperson Payton.
What's the current process for, like, what have we been operating under, and then this alteration?
They've been tracked, and as Dave is fond of pointing out, some of the fines that we were trying to collect were old enough to legally drink. So
Yeah.
we just kept
Yep.
them on the book forever.
Do you use this typically with the city, and I've done some collections in the past myself, do you use the state's collection agency, or do we use a private
Yes,
agency?
state.
Just the state? Okay. I'm trying to think of all the different questions I have for that, but that's okay. Then a really quick one, just in the resolution itself, it says now therefore be it, whereas, Rick, does it need to be therefore be it resolved to move forward, or what's the purpose of the whereas versus resolved to move into further resolution? That's just a quick language check.
Yeah, usually like the last sentence would be now therefore be it resolved.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, so just a typo.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so.
Just a, I guess, quick comment on your collections questions. Like the current policy, I believe right now is the court collects those rather than city staff. And that's been sort of an ongoing discussion about who's more well-suited for that role, I guess. Because the court, if there is a judgment against somebody, it can be more than just like the tax refund intercept program, like the DOR or Department of Revenue does have more options available to it. Not that they always fully use them, but a lot of these debts, if I recall correctly, the DOR has determined they're not collectible.
Yeah. It's always hard when you have non-collectible. It's a hit. All right.
Any other questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. The next one is R-140 of 2024. I don't even know if I can pronounce that. Sounds like a science word.
aqueous film forming foam.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not
aqueous
gonna
film
even
foaming
say it
foam.
once.
Forming foam.
Uh,
Forming foam.
So we do have a resolution on that. Who's leading this
It's me, I'm the
conversation?
liaison, I think, still. I think. Do I need to pull it forward already for consideration? Or do we need to have a discussion first, or would Director Weiss like to present on it first?
If you want to
before the
make a
resolution?
motion, you can do that, or we can have a discussion and then make the motion, whatever you're most comfortable with.
I'll let Director Weiss present on the situation, and then I'll propose the motion.
Thank you. So I guess to give some background, back in November of last year, there's two settlements out there for DuPont and 3M. We brought that forward for discussion for approval, actually, of ultimately staying in that class action lawsuit. What this ultimately means is that those producers, large producers of PFAS chemicals, the aqueous form, I'm checking myself, yeah, film forming foam, PFAS basically, has gotten to our water systems. And basically there's been these class action lawsuits that have been going through a lot of iteration. Back in November, we had the option to opt in or opt out. By opting in, basically you do nothing. Ultimately, you do present some information back, and then we are to receive monies based on what level of contamination, say, we have. We recommended at that time to move forward with opting into this because we have 4 wells, 3 of which have no detect, and 1 of which has a small detect. Since we don't have any point source, there's no immediate known cause of this. From everything these products are used, there's very few products that these are not used in, and they're actually still able to be used up until 2025. So basically in the action that the council took in November is that authorized us to stay in these lawsuits. Now 2 additionals have come forward, BASF and Tyco. They've now looking to settle as well. Context though also is 3M, their settlement was 10.5 to 12.5 billion. DuPont's was 1.185 billion. The settlement with BASF is 750 million. Tyco is 312.5 million. So much smaller settlements than what was approved previously. Our recommendation is that we continue to move forward. If we do need to do some treatment at some point in time, it will be significant unless technology changes, and we've set some other opportunities. But the way we see it at this point in time, it's seed money for that situation if it does arise. So we do recommend, this was unanimous at the Utilities Committee on August 19th, 6-0.
Are there any initial questions or thoughts or concerns? Okay, hearing none, did you want to make a motion then?
Sure. I'll bring forward Resolution 140, 2024, authorizing and directing the proper city officials to take no action and remain a member of the BASF Corporation and Tyco Fire Products LP settlement classes under master docket number 218 MN 2873 RMG of the United States District Court. See, I messed that part up, but I didn't mess the other part up. For the District of South Carolina, I so move.
Second by Alderperson Jensen. One last time for discussion.
All I'll say is, on behalf of the committee, there were 2 of us, the previous resolution disagreed with, but at this point we agreed to continue on the same action that already has proceeded. So we've already agreed to be in settlements, so we might as well continue on that path. So that's why you don't have a disagreement now, but we did previously.
All right, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 And any opposed? That motion carries. Item number 10 is we do have an opportunity to go into closed session to talk about, it's basically tax incremental financing for cost reimbursement agreement for JT Klein. So I would entertain a motion. Somebody want to read the motion to go into closed session?
I'll make a motion for the common council to convene in closed session per state statute 19.85, paren 1, paren E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business, whether competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Common council may reconvene in an open session to discuss and take action on the subject matter discussed in the closed session. So moved.
Second.
Second by Alderman Payton, and this one needs a roll call vote. Are you able to hear us, Candy?
I can hear you.
Okay, whenever you're ready, you can do the roll call vote.
Okay, thank you. Jensen,
Aye.
Peyton,
Aye.
Caravello,
Aye.
Reeves,
Aye. Aye.
Abel,
Aye.
Schumacher,
Aye.
Mayeski. Hirsch,
Aye.
Butler,
Aye.
Wozniak Scanlon, she's a yes too, and Sherlockie.
Aye.
Thank you. We have 11 alders in favor.
Okay, we'll go into closed session and we'll start up in a couple minutes.